Well, I'm going to say so far, so good when it comes to the NBA and the NHL. In terms of their return to play plan here and their Hub City bubble model, as we're calling it here. However, Major League Baseball, not so. And may I say, I'm kind of not surprised. I mean, this is kind of a follow up to my video that I made where I gave my confidence on league's return to play plans here. And actually, I did put the NHL at the top here. And so far, when it comes to any cases, since players have went into their hub cities and bubble here, there actually has been no positive cases. And even the same case when it comes to the NBA, with all the teams and players going into the ESPN Live Well Sports in Orlando, Florida here, they've also have had no positive tests with COVID-19 since entering the bubble here and have had some games in here. So far, it's so good here, but we're still early in it where the NHL just had their one exhibition game for each team where they had one game scheduled, and now the play-in series have begun here as well as the round robins. But I mean, a lot can still change here. But the theory is if everyone before they go into the bubble here, they all test clean, negative, no signs of COVID, and it's aggressive testing here that the league is actually paying for and not taking tests away from the general public. I'll put that out there. That if you're all good and clear before you go in the bubble here, and you go into a bubble with a restricted, controlled environment here, that the theory is that no one's going to get sick from COVID-19. And then the fact that that's the same thing with the NBA, and so far so good here. But let's not get too excited just yet here. But it seems like that it has worked elsewhere overseas with the Bundesliga in Germany here. And I keep saying that the baseball in South Korea here too, but I'm not too sure if they've done a bubble city model. But I also know in those nations here, they've had their COVID situation under a little more control than I would say definitely in the U.S. here. In Canada, we're doing all right. However, lately here in Alberta, their cases actually have been rising here, but we're imposing a mask, bylaw here, which I can't believe it's gotten so political here. I just say wear a damn mask when you're inside. I've been doing it myself here when I go to the mall, shopping center, and I take public transit. I've been wearing a mask before the government said so, and then the case, let's say, with my employer, and it's probably the case with many others, where we're required to wear a mask when we enter the workplace, and at least we could take it off from our workstation, but the mask has to go on once we move around and interact or move around the office here, so I don't see a big deal with that. But that's our story here. But let's look at Major League Baseball. I'm not, and definitely already just a week in with their season here, that there's already been one team, the Miami Marlins, who I know that baseball were allowed to carry 60 players in reserve, and they're thinking, well, that's why you have all those players here. But the Miami Marlins, I think as of this recording, they've had 19 players and staff tested positive for it. And then I apparently heard that the Philadelphia Phillies were tested negative here, but they were taking precautions because they were playing the Marlins here. But then there's other weekend series that have been postponed already. And the Major League Baseball has been all about, well, we'll still travel, we'll still go play in our own ballparks with no fans here, but then there's definitely parts in the U.S. where COVID cases have been rising, including the state of Florida. It's definitely scary to look at the numbers that, while we're concerned here in Alberta about cases rising here, but when you look at the whole country, Canada, and cases here that generally we've been doing all right. But the fact that, got other parts of the states here where it's still out of control here. Once the Players Association and even the commissioner, which I think they're both, miles apart here, where they were bickering about salaries and, number of games this season here. I think also it definitely shows they're not on the same page about this managing this COVID thing. Because now the league's coming out saying, I guess we need to start, managing COVID a little better here. Or the season won't even happen here, which I'm going to say Major League Baseball definitely is showing that how to not do it. And I don't think there is going to be the 60-game season here because you're going to have too many players testing positive here, and more series being postponed or canceled here, that they're not going to be able to make up the games, because the plan was is that they were going to get those 60 games in, I think, in 67 days around there, where they still wanted the World Series or the playoffs to start, late September, the World Series to end in the end of October here. However, I don't think we're going to get there. I don't think baseball is going to be finishing the season here, because we're already just a week in, and there's too many cases numbers with the players itself, and then many players and umpires. And I'm going to say, of the major leagues here, baseball has had the most staff and players that have opted out here because they didn't feel it's safe here. I know that I thought there would be more players in the NBA and the NHL here that would have opted out, and I'm going to say that probably shows the confidence that those players have in those leagues here. And as I say, as of this recording, we're still in the first weekend here and early stages here. There has been no positive cases for both the NBA and the NHL here, but Major League Baseball definitely is a mess right now. And you could definitely say this probably should put football on notice too, because I'm not too sure what the NFL could do now, because it's still, as I know, they've been starting to saw off, like, we don't need the Hall of Fame game yet, we don't need preseason yet, but the season, as we know, is still on, and there's still cases where they want to start training camp, or training camp just has started on time here. But I was about to say cases. I've heard there has been some players that have tested positive in the NFL here, and pretty soon you're going to start hearing players decide to opt out here. But I think basically what I'm trying to come back here to is that if sports wants to exist and still play during COVID-19 here, that you might be sacrificing time with your family or loved ones here, and I would say thanks to the players that are doing that, so that we got something to consume and cheer for here. However, I think the bubble model definitely is probably the best way to do it, because it's all about still getting the games in while doing it as safely as possible here. Fans aren't going to be at the games here, but the leagues, especially with the NBA and the NHL so far, have found creative ways to still implement the viewer experience as best as possible here, and still kind of give some unique team homey feel. I know that in the NHL they show graphics, and apparently they're going to plan on showing like more fan infographics of all the teams, and then they play that goal horn for that home team there. And I know that I've seen, for example, many league or teams that are in their hotels, either in Toronto or Edmonton here, that they occupy their certain floors, that they still put their logo, their graphics on the lobbies, the doors there. It's kind of a dorm room college setting. But I know, for example, Flames TV there, that I saw that they use one executive suite on the floor there, which is their makeshift training medical center, so players can go and ride the bike, or get any supplements or whatever from the trainers there. So that's just definitely a neat way to do it, to make the best out of it here. And then I'm going to say the case with so far, if there's been no cases with the NBA and NHL here, keep in mind here that you got 22 teams in the bubble in Orlando, Florida here, and in a couple weeks here, 6 teams are going to be eliminated once they have the 16 teams in the playoffs here. And then the case with Edmonton and Toronto here, where you have 12 teams, or 12 teams in the bubble here for each side of the conference here, that 4 teams are going to be eliminated next week at this time here in each city here. And it's just only going to get easier as the playoffs go on, that you have fewer teams to manage here. And once you get down to the Final Four here, and that's the theory here, is that once you get everyone in here, as long as everyone's all good and following the rules here, and there seems to be procedures in place for both sides. And I still find that funny that the NBA had the anonymous hotline there. I would like to be a fly in the wall if someone broke out, and I like to see a player tell another player here. But I think everyone's going to be focused on just playing for the championship here. That they're going to make sure they're going to stay in the good books here with the team in the league here, because they definitely don't want to forfeit their chance of getting back in, or fall a favor. That's definitely the risk you run into there. But just say, what do you think of everything here when it comes to bubbles and non-bubbles when it comes to the NBA, NHL here. It seems like things have been working so far here, but definitely not surprised with the MLB, and I think ultimately MLB is going to have to say we're out this year because too many players are going to get sick here, and when you're starting to already postpone or potentially cancel a weekend series here, just it's starting to ripple out here, and you got to wonder what the NFL is going to be thinking here. So anyway, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, home of the Flames, Hitman, Roughnecks, and Stampeders here. I mostly talk Calgary sports and other sports on my channel here, but I also do personal blogs, attempt to comedy, and I also do share my experience at Sam on the road at a sport event here. So if that all sounds like it'd be interesting to watch, do follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey. You know what you need to do. Just make sure you hit like, subscribe. I also have my other social media links down in the description below here. So as I say here, I'll see you in the next video here.